I'm Mark Turner, President of the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce, and we are again this month with Mayor Marie Blankley, City of Gilroy. And the mayor writes an article each month for the spotlight, the monthly spotlight with the mayor. And typically she chooses a different department. This is the second month that she's written this newsletter, or for the newsletter. And this month we're focusing on the community development department. And with that, we're going to be talking about housing. And so, Mayor, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump right in. And the question I have, of course, is, can you tell us, I mean, there's a number of projects going on around the city. Can you tell us about some of the housing projects in Gilroy that are under construction right now?
I can. I want to say one thing before I answer the question, and that is these monthly spotlights that I've been doing are on city departments, and they're with the director of that department, and it is largely written by that director. So in this case, it was written by Karen Garner, except for the overview from the mayor. That's the part that I write. So I want the public to realize that it's actually not my writing. It is that director's. So yes, housing projects that are going on in Gilroy. This is kind of a hot topic, which is why I chose it for my second monthly spotlight. And right now, today, under construction are 120 affordable housing units by Safeway and Taco Bell, that area there. That's going to be 3 stories tall and 120 apartment units total. And then there is also 158 affordable units being constructed out at Glen Loma. And coming up will be it's under review. So you'll be seeing shortly construction going on at the southwest corner of First and Santa Teresa, a 100 affordable unit development. There are others coming up, the 72 single family homes on the north side of Hecker Pass where the roundabout's going, and 29 single family homes at the cottages on Kern that council just approved last Monday night. So this is not all of the ones that are going on, but these are the main ones that I wanted to share with everybody. And they're listed in the Spotlight newsletter that hopefully you've seen.
Well, thank you for that, Mary. And I know that when you talk about affordable housing, we can kind of get different thoughts in our minds as to what that actually means. But can you tell us what does affordable housing mean?
Yeah. Okay. So Gilroy is in Santa Clara County. And when we say affordable housing, we mean a certain percentage of income that a family of 4 or of 2 or of 1 has, the percentage of income that they have of the area median income. So Santa Clara County's, I'm going to tell you, Santa Clara County's median income for a family of 4 is $151,000, $151,300. Santa Clara County's median. That means from Gilroy to Palo Alto, half of the wage earners earn more than $151,000 and half earn less than $151,000. That's what area median income means. When we use terms like affordable housing, low income, very low income, extremely low income, those are not specific to any one city. It's not specific to Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Palo Alto. It's all cities in Santa Clara County. So low income means that a family, well, anything, whether you're 1, 2, 3, or 4 people or 8 people, it means that you're earning 80% of the area median income for that number of people. And again, that's not just Gilroy. So 151,000 is for a family of 4. 80% of that number is roughly $117,000. So if you're a family of 4 in Gilroy and you're making $117,000 or less, you're low income. If you're making $82,000 or less, you're very low income. If you're making $50,000 or less, you're extremely low income. So you still are making money, but it's the percentage of a county-wide AMI, area median income.
And so certain people, based on those incomes, will fall into certain categories, whether it's extremely low, very low, or low income. And with that, of course, it provides the opportunity for these affordable housing units that might make it easier for, say, a family of 4 to have an affordable housing unit.
Yeah, so let's take the development that everybody can see being built at Taco Bell and Safeway, for example, 120 affordable units. That application came forward with a suggestion of a mix of 108 units being low income and 12 units being very low income. That doesn't mean that that's going to be the final mix of that housing development. All that's required is that they all be at a minimum low income. The mix, and we would love the mix to be maybe more very low and maybe more extremely low, right? To address a wider need in our city. But that's dictated by the financing that the developer is able to get. It's just how it works. And it seems to be based on the housing that we get. Low income is easier to get financing for than very low income, which is easier to get financing for than extremely low income. So that's where Measure A came into the picture back in 2016 when the voters passed that bond, is to provide $1 billion of financing for affordable housing. And this would include extremely low and very low income that most cities are struggling to get built in their cities because it's up to developers to build them. The cities don't do the building, and they are limited to what their financing can provide. So in the case of the 120 units at Taco Bell, they will at a minimum be low income, but they can be very low income if the financing comes through. And in anything that is funded with Measure A, which in Gilroy has only been the Gateway Apartments on Monterey, that financing absolutely includes some amount of extremely low income housing.
And so if I'm hearing you right, Mayor, then really this is determined by really between the developer and the financing agency. The city doesn't dictate the number of very low, extremely low. It's dictated by others.
Absolutely, because it has to all work out with financially. So again, it has to be at a minimum low income if that's how the project came in. But the mix from low to very low to extremely low is finance directed. I mean, it's largely dependent on the financing, unless if something is being funded with Measure A money, which has only been around since 2017, because that just passed at the end of 2016, then that will include some extremely low income.
And Mayor, when we talk about these units, and my next question is going to be around the Gilroy's housing target, those numbers are also dictated from the state. Is that correct? There are mandates from the state level as to the number of affordable housing units that a city has to comply with.
Yes. So state law, every city in California is assigned a housing unit target that represents its share of the state's housing needs for an 8-year period. That's how that's looked. So we look statewide, then the various organizations, in our case, it's Metropolitan Transportation Commission and the Association of Bay Area Governments. They're the ones that look at the 9 Bay Area counties. So they are the ones that work directly with the state, looking at statewide, and then they assign the housing needs for the next 8-year period in all of the different categories of affordability to each city. And we are coming up on the expiration of our current 8-year cycle. Okay, actually it's the end of 2022. So then for 2023 to 2031 is the next cycle. Okay, and in Gilroy's case, we've been assigned another 1,773 homes for that next 8-year cycle. Now, do cities always meet these numbers? No. Because again, we're dependent on developers to come in and try to build, and they're largely dependent on their financing to get things going. And Measure A money, by the way, is absolutely being used within the county. I was just told by Destination Home earlier this week that they are well into 7/10, right? If it's $1 billion, 700,000 has already been earmarked. Some of it already spent, some of it housing already built, and others earmarked at cities throughout the county. So the money is being put to use, that the voters authorized, is being put to use for affordable housing. But RHNA is what we target and what we have to put in our general plan to try to accommodate.
And RHNA, RHNA, stands for the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. Is that correct? Yes,
thank you. Regional Housing Needs Allocation.
Allocation, okay.
Right.
In this situation, so over the next 8 years, beginning in 2023, 100,000, did I hear that right? 1,000 units, you said?
For 2023 to 2031, 1,773. 1,700
housing units.
Right.
What happens, let's say at the end of that time, Gilroy only is able to build 1,000. Is the state going to apply some punitive measure against the city?
No. So long as we allocated the space for it. We have to be open to, and we can't deny a developer to bring, if somebody comes and says, I can build this level of housing, very low income housing on this site that you have zoned for it, and the city council were to try to deny that, then absolutely the state can come in. But if you didn't deny, you've allocated the land for it, you've opened it up for somebody to apply to build the housing there with all of your rules accommodated, then no, the fact that nobody offered to build that kind of housing is not something that cities are penalized for.
Very good. Okay. Well, and again, as mayor, what are your concerns with the housing growth in Gilroy?
Yeah, so I hope I'm coming across as helping everybody embrace the need for various levels of affordability for housing in Gilroy, because that is certainly something we want to try to do, right? All cities should be trying to do their part to address housing need at the various levels of affordability. But that does come, a growing population does come with concerns, especially when what you're doing is putting a lot of high density housing in a city like Gilroy that doesn't have the job growth that the rest of the county, right, to the north of us does. So my number one concern with the housing growth is employment, because in Gilroy, as we add population, workers have to travel north in order to be employed and to make enough money to pay what it costs to live in Gilroy. And that traveling north then makes us more dependent on who's managing the increased demand for driving. What's our transit service look like? Because it hasn't looked very good so far. What are parking needs? Because as we try to add more housing and take up land space, and we allocate fewer and fewer parking spaces to housing because you're trying to promote mass transit and not using cars, that's fine as long as the transit's there. Gilroy doesn't have that transit yet. Neither does Morgan Hill. We're so far removed from the rest of the county that the Caltrain and VTA service that we get is a small fraction of what the denser populations to the north of us have. And again, our residents have to travel north to work. So having employment in Gilroy is a big concern for me. Transit and congestion is another big concern for me that we have no control over. We have to hope that the transit service is there. Parking is a concern for me because people use cars. You can try to encourage them not to, but they do. And until auto dealers are no longer selling cars like at the rate that they've been selling them, we know that people are going to drive. And managing that demand for driving is critical, in my opinion. How we'll fund public safety for added residents. All this additional housing is fine, but the money, there's no money that comes with that for the city services. So all of us, existing residents and new residents, will have to adjust to a different level of service without the money to increase our fire, police, parks and things like that. I do go into quite a bit of detail in the spotlight, or Karen does, I should say, Karen Garner, the director, on where money comes from and the impact fees and what we charge developers. But the things over which we don't have jurisdiction, like what I'm describing, public health, social services, we don't have jurisdiction over those. So we can't charge any impact fees for that. So where's the money coming from for those things? That's the concern.
Got it. Yeah, quite a list of concerns for sure.
Sorry.
No, and certainly, obviously, great concerns to be considering. So I know that we get to the end of our time here, Mayor. I want to thank you again for this time this month to spend the time with you to learn more about the housing needs and what we're dealing with as a community. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. For those who want to talk more about this, September 18th is the next Conversation and Coffee with the Mayor here in Council Chambers. September 18th, 9:30 a.m. with Karen Garner. Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye.
I'm Turner with the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for being with us.